I swear to you, if anybody told me my whole life could flip in a heartbeat just because I trusted a county deed and a dead man's warning, I'd have laughed and said, that's someone else's problem. But let me paint you a picture. Imagine coming back to the land your grandfather left you and finding 100 houses all shiny and beige, built on what used to be your pine forest, your piece of the American dream, by folks who never paid a dime for it. That's not a bad joke. That's what really happened to me. I still remember that first gut punch, August hot wind through the windows of my old Silverado, Colorado mountains, out past the windshield. And in my head I'm thinking, this'll be closure. Grandpa's ashes, one last drive up Old Mill Road. I hadn't been back in 3 years. Divorce. Kids in college. Work always more work than life. Still every April I paid my property taxes. $6,400, never late, always online. I kept all the emails. I thought that meant something. So picture this, you turn onto the old fire road, ready to see wild grass and pine needles, and instead, bam, sidewalks, streetlights, a big fancy sign, Ridgeline Heights, a luxury community. There's families hauling couches, sprinklers running, kids riding scooters. It takes me 4 GPS checks just to believe it's the right spot. My spot. I get out gravel under my boots, and the first person I meet is a security guard with that bored, power trippy look. He tells me it's residents only. I show him the deed on my phone. He laughs. Says, sure, buddy, and I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I can argue, a white Range Rover pulls up and out steps a woman who looks like she's never carried her own groceries. I find out later her name's Cassandra. She doesn't look at me, just talks to the guard. What's the problem, Ray? The guard tells her I'm claiming I own the development. She finally turns, gives me a once-over. Work boots, jacket, oil-stained hands, and I can see her mentally filing me under poor, probably confused. She tells me real sweet that if I'm looking for a job, the construction crews are all full, but she'll take my number. I tell her I'm not looking for work, I'm the owner. My grandfather's name was William Flint. She pulls out her phone swipes with those manicured nails and says her title company found the land abandoned, adverse possession, means it's hers now, all legal, all proper. She tells me 96 homes are sold, $16 million in pre-sales, families moving in by Thanksgiving. Then she hands me a lawyer's card, says, if I keep trespassing, she'll call the sheriff. She even snaps a photo of my license plate, whispers, trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. I went home shaking. Spent that night spreading Grandpa's old ledgers, smelling of pipe tobacco across my kitchen table. There's the deed, the tax receipts, the survey maps. Cassandra just threatened me, photographed my truck, basically called me a criminal. But you know what? She also gave me everything I needed to bury her. So what'd I do? Nothing. Not yet. I watched them finish the houses. I drove by, sometimes camera in hand, taking photos from the public road. Every time she glared, made a call, sent a sheriff's cruiser my way. One deputy told me, sir, this is civil, but if she files another complaint, we'll have to take action. Translation. She donates to the sheriff's campaign. I don't. I needed a real lawyer. Someone who scares other lawyers. My buddy Marcus up in Cheyenne gives me a name, Lydia Chen. First meeting, she says, let them finish. If you stop construction now, the company declares bankruptcy. You get lawsuits from 96 families, 3 years in litigation hell. But if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment, you'll own every last house. It was brutal, but it made sense. All I had to do was keep my mouth shut and keep paying Lydia. 40 grand in legal fees, maybe more. I only had $12,000 in savings and a truck that needed a new transmission. But I heard my own voice saying, I'll figure it out. One last thing, Lydia said, don't tip your hand. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. So I turned into an amateur detective. Found out Cassandra's company was a Delaware LLC, always a red flag, funded by her husband's investment group. Found court records, he'd been sued before for fraud, quietly settled. I learned about every permit, every payment, every false claim. They filed an adverse possession claim, but they skipped the last step. You got to win in court before you can sell anything. They didn't. That's fraud, plain and simple. But Cassandra wasn't done. She started sending code enforcement after me, anonymous tips about illegal dumping, hazardous waste, abandoned vehicles. I showed up every time, phone recording. The place was spotless except for the 96 houses she'd built without my say. The code inspector, Rick, told me off the record he'd seen this pattern before. Complaints filed right before permits get approved, always by someone connected to the developer. Then came the Facebook war. A post in the local group accusing me of harassing families, photographing children, making people feel unsafe. My daughter Emma calls crying, says her college friends are asking if her dad's a criminal. Someone posts a picture of my truck, my license plate circled in red. I call Lydia. She says, don't respond. Don't engage. Screenshot everything. It only got worse. My boss put me on leave. He didn't want the drama bleeding into the firm. Jenny from accounting, who used to bake cookies, wouldn't look me in the eye. I realized then Cassandra wasn't just fighting for my land, she was fighting to erase me entirely. I almost gave in. Lydia called it the dark before the dawn. She warned me, it gets worse before it gets better. If you want to settle, walk away, I can get you $500,000. I thought about Grandpa's note tucked in the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. No. I said we finish this. The next days were a blur. Someone spray-painted pervert on my garage door. My son Tyler, working as a line cook, got a visit from a private investigator trying to dig up dirt on me. Then came the IRS audit complaint filed by a third party. All intimidation textbook stuff, but it works. I called Lydia almost at my breaking point. She just said desperate people make mistakes. And she was right. The title company flipped. They admitted to taking a bribe from Cassandra's husband, emails, payment records, everything. Lydia called me. We have them. The day before court, Cassandra's attorney begged for a settlement. Lydia refused. Trial day, the courthouse was packed. All those families terrified they'd lose their homes. Lydia laid out every document, Grandpa's ledgers, the tax receipts, the permit records, Preston's smoking gun email. The judge listened, stone-faced. Preston tried to lie, got caught. Cassandra took the fifth. By 4:47 p.m., the judge said she'd rule within 24 hours. We waited breathless. The next morning, victory. Judge ruled that Whitmore and her husband had orchestrated a systematic fraud. I got everything. The land, the houses, damages, legal fees paid, case referred for criminal prosecution, their assets seized, their companies dissolved. But that left me with a problem, 96 families scared to death they'd lose everything. I called a meeting in the half-built clubhouse, looked those folks in the eye and told them, you did nothing wrong. You bought in good faith. I'm setting up a trust. You'll own your homes at the price you paid, no extra, no new mortgage. What you put in is all you owe. You should have seen the relief in that room, people crying, hugging, clapping. Even the old guy in the back squeezed my hand and said my grandpa would be proud. And you know what? We started a scholarship too, the William Flint Memorial for kids going into forestry or engineering. My daughter Emma helped set it up. I built myself a cabin out on the north edge under the same pines Grandpa wouldn't let anyone cut. Mornings I drink coffee and watch deer in the snow. Sometimes my ex-wife even visits with her new husband and she says she's proud of me. Life's funny like that. So what's the lesson here? I guess it's this. Justice isn't some magic thing that just shows up. You fight for it. You keep every receipt. You ask for help when you're over your head. You take the blows and you keep standing. In the end, it's not just about land or money. It's about knowing you didn't let the bastards win. That 96 families sleep safe because you stood your ground. That's real justice, the kind that heals. Let me ask you, have you ever tangled with an HOA or had someone try to steal what was yours just because they thought you wouldn't fight back? Drop your story below. I want to hear how you faced down the machine or maybe how you wish you had. Let's build a library of regular folks taking on the system and winning. And hey, whatever happens, keep your receipts. All of them.